Hi there guys, Metal Crusader here. So today I'm back to talk about three releases as usual. This time I will be talking about two of my favorite releases from last year and another release from one of those bands. In this case, two releases from Minenwerfer and a single release from Blut Aus. Now, let's just start right away and jump into it. Minenwerfer are a traditional or a typical black metal band from the US. They focus mainly on philosophy, World War One, and that sort of lyrics. As for the release itself, I believe, well, I know that I got this release from Purity Through Fire, and that they are selling Represses, and they have an agreement with Purity Through Fire. That is the label which also put out their last record. But I believe that this particular record, Nihilistchen, which is the first one that I will be talking about, it came out through another label, Anti-Christian something, I believe. Now, here it is, the insert. By the way, this was one of the best finds I did last year. I had no clue who these guys were until last year, so sorry about that. Black vinyl, so nothing special there. It's worth to keep. By the way, it's just the same artwork as one on the cover. Now, Minenwerfer is a band that I am very glad to have discovered. I actually also want to get their other releases, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Nihilistchen is their, I believe, second full length. It came out on 2012, and first things first, when you put this to play, the first thing you will notice right away is the drums production. It's something quite out of this world, to be honest. Personally, I love it, and I believe it gives a lot of aggression to this release. Some people might not enjoy it as much, as it can be a bit on the over-dominating side of things, whilst getting in the way to listen to the riffs and the vocals not so much, but especially to the riffs. It can get a bit on the way. However, I love the production of these drums. It feels like having a 20 millimeters firing at you, which is something incredible. The release itself, well, I can say without any doubt, it is all about the riffs, which is why I would understand that some people will not enjoy the drum production, because it can get a bit in the way of listening to those amazing riffs present there. As for the vocals, amazing vocals, some of the more aggressive and furious one I've heard in the last years, at least in this particular type of black metal. I guess it's not exactly the same, but I can say it's kind of in the same vibe as Marduk, not as far as that, and not exactly the same, not by far, but it's on the same page, let's call it that way. I believe most of you will understand what I'm trying to say, but I'm telling you this about Nihilistchen because their other release has nothing to do in terms of sound, in my personal opinion, with that. Now, from Nihilistchen, I would recommend you two tracks. To be more specific, Lusitania and Sea of Nihilism, which are my favorite tracks from this release. So it is track 2 and track 3. And now to talk about their other release. This one is Alpenpass by Minenwerfer 2. I actually really like their artwork with this, again, with these World War One references. Really, really cool. By the way, let me just say that I am sorry if I am completely butchering the name of these releases and the name of the band. I don't know how to speak German, so sorry about that. Now, this release, as I mentioned, is quite different from the Nihilation. This one is their latest full length. It came out on 2019, and this is the one that I mentioned that came out through Purity Through Fire, which is actually where I got both these releases. Now, this one has a way better production. Everything is clear to listen to, and you can notice every single detail. Musically speaking, the musicianship has increased quite a bit. They are way better musicians than they were on Nihilation. And the album itself goes on a different direction. This one, it's hard to me to compare to Marduk as easily as the other one was. Again, not saying it's the same thing, quite different, but I guess you'll get comparison if you listen to the releases. This one, contrary to Nihilation, it's on a much more melodic vibe, and I would even maybe go as far as calling it a bit atmospheric. Not totally, but at least a bit of atmospheric black metal is present here. As far as songs that I do recommend from this release, I never remember that name. Dragging the Dead through Mountain Passes actually, sorry, which is track 2, and Cloaked in Silence, which is track 3. Both amazing tracks. Personally, Cloaked in Silence is one of my favorites, and this release has to be one of my favorite releases from last year. I'm actually quite sorry because when I did my personal top 20 for Black Planet magazine, I actually did not include this release there. I haven't heard it yet, or if I included it, it was very, very on the bottom because I hadn't paid it the attention it deserved. If you haven't heard this release by some reason, do it, because it's one of the best releases that came out in 2019 without any doubt. It's an amazing release. With this being said, I will talk about another of my favorite releases from last year, which is Blut Aus, and the title of the release is Hallucinogen. Blut Aus are a band that hails from France. This is obviously their latest release. Obviously, well, they could have released something else this year, but it's their last full length, as far as I know. There you have it. Really, really cool artwork. Okay. Yeah, I haven't showed. And now just to show you the booklet. This release is called Hallucinogen, and to be quite honest, I couldn't name it better. Because when you listen to this, first off, the way this album starts is the first sign that you're into an amazing release, or at least an interesting one. I say this because the first time that I listened to this release, I actually it was on YouTube, and I thought that the first track was split, because it starts right away, and you have this feeling that you are in the middle of a song, but you are not. It's the way it starts. It's like that. It's just, I believe it's done on purpose to make you feel a bit lost, maybe. Not sure, just my personal take on that. This really has an amazing way of fusing vocals and the guitars to a point that sometimes, how can I place this. Listening to this, it's even when there are no vocals there, and then the vocals come in, you feel that these vocals have been there all along, almost as a deja vu feeling. Like there is a constant presence there, and that's what makes me tell that this name hallucinogen is probably the best name they could have for this release, because it gets to a point that you are so lost that you can't actually know in which point you are, if these vocals are already there or if they are not. That's the feeling it gives you. Of course, if you're paying the minimum amount of attention to it, you will notice when they do come up. But the feeling that you get is that feeling of an almost deja vu, like when the vocals come in. In terms of the instrumental part, amazing. They create an amazing atmosphere, being intense when needed, being slow when needed. These guys are veterans at this, so not much to be said about it. What the album feels like, honestly, it's an amazing journey. It's a trip that you go into, and I will not recommend you tracks from this release. What I'm going to recommend you is for you to listen to the release from start till finish, because it does not have a single bad song, and every single uh, actually, if you didn't listen on that way, you would be losing. It's one of those albums that, in my personal opinion, you need to listen from start to finish. There is no other way. Listening just one song, it will feel out of place, and it will not make as much sense as it does in the record. It really is something unique, and it is something that I would recommend you. With that being said, I guess that's it for today. So, as usual, if you enjoyed the video, like, share, subscribe, you know, the usual. So, with that being said, I guess I'll see you on the next video. Until then, keep your horns up.